Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to what I think is episode 7 of the Super Sunday podcast, 6 or 7. And this week is the return of Toby, Aidan, and Curtis for our monthly July football podcast thing. We've not really got a theme for it, just we know that it happens once a month and it's about football.
About football. Sweet.
I've got Arsenal versus Wolves on in the background, so I've got that there. But I think it's about time, boys, that we have a discussion about a very controversial topic that was introduced right at the start of this very Premier League season. And those viewers are probably going, I know what it is straight away. VAR. VAR.
Yeah.
It's had its ups and downs. You know, there's definitely been times where it's been useful, but I think it's been overlooked by the amount of times that it's been under scrutiny and the amount of times that it's made mistakes, or how crucial or pinpoint, literally millimeters down to an offside or a goal disallowed.
Yeah, I think the main problem, it isn't the technology that people are having a go at, it's how it's being used. Like I think they introduced it without clear guidance for officials to follow. And so there was a sense that they were making it up as they went along.
They kind of were, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was Liverpool played Wolves, I think it was Christmas time. And there were two really dodgy decisions. I think Connor Cody comes up to Mike Dean, or whoever the ref was, and went, "Why was it disallowed?" And Mike Dean's going, "I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out myself." And Connor Cody goes, "So you're the ref of the game and you don't know why a goal's been disallowed? Okay." Because, it's like you've got that many people making just one decision. There's going to be like so much confusion behind it. They need to sort it out for next season, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what exactly went wrong, because we saw it working. Well, I don't think there were many bad decisions made in the 2018 World Cup, and that was effectively its trial run.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they got it so badly wrong after such a good start. I think they need to iron out the details of like what they can give, what they can't give, whether or not the ref should be going over to the monitor to make the decision himself, because I think that played a huge part in the clarity of what was being said and of why decisions were being made or not made.
Yeah, there are just so many grey areas with regards to if there was clear guidance where it was like, this is how it's done, this is whether you can request it, this is who has the actual final say on any decisions. If they actually laid it out so there was no room for confusion, then it could work extremely well. Because how long have we been saying about how long people have been complaining about poor refereeing decisions? Yeah. Well, it's the one bit of technology that could potentially solve that problem. It's just not being used very well.
And it's making it worse.
Yeah, it completely, I mean, before the break, and obviously crowds were still allowed in the stadiums, it completely kills the atmosphere, because there'll be a goal and, the crowd will cheer, but then there'll be an awkward 2 or 3 minutes where everyone's just a bit,
It does definitely destroy the flow of a game.
Absolutely.
I mean, so it went the World Cup, and then it was used in last year's Champions League, wasn't it? And we saw it used very well in the Spurs City game, where it was the last minute. I think it was Sterling that scored, but Aguero was offside from a ball that nicked off of Rodri or something, and they weren't sure on who the last pass came from. Great. So you look at it, right, it came off Rodri, Aguero's in an offside position, sorted, goals disallowed. But now they've introduced the 10 pass rule of they only look at it from the last 10 passes. They only look at it from the last 36 seconds. They only look at it from it's just very come and go. Like today, if that was the case, Man U should have had 2 or 3 goals that were disallowed. So where's the line in the sense of, has it got to come from the hierarchy? Like, has the whole the FA got to look at it, or is it a case of it's stated but the refs haven't quite come to terms with using it? Because there's 5 officials now to state. So you've got the ref, the linesman, the 4th official, and then the head at Stockley Park, wherever it,
I think it's a main thing of just the whole system of it needs to be overhauled, really. Because again, the technology is fine, that's perfect, but they need to be clear as to what the rules actually state. The big thing has been offsides. That's where the big controversies come. Because, well, for example, the West Ham Chelsea game earlier this week, where was it Antonio's half of his head was slightly offside, and that was obstructing Kepa's view or something.
Yeah.
So they need to decide, right, what is actually offside, what constitutes that, and what doesn't, because it seems to change from game to game depending on who's in charge of the game. It's very strange.
But it might talk to Antonio that, because if he's laying flat on the floor and he's still obstructing Kepa's view, who's 6 foot, he must be really wide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a big bloke, but he's not that wide.
Let's bear in mind, he had been clobbered by Christensen in the meantime. The reason he's on the floor is because a Chelsea player has gone up with Christensen, and it's.
I mean, the amount of questionable decisions we've seen just this weekend. Sheffield United got saved against Spurs because Lucas had been bundled over. And arguably, it could have been a foul, but because Egan punts it off of his arm, he's offside and the goal's disallowed. There are things that you can't stop. You're always going to, for example, in this instance, put your arms out to stop you from falling flat on your face. How can he avoid that? If I was a Spurs fan, I'd be absolutely livid. But obviously, at the time, I was really happy. But that's. And then there was the Antonio one, and the second time that Souček scored, I think his celebration was sort of a bit like. And it killed the atmosphere again. So
the danger is it's creating almost 2 rule books. You've got the rules. You've got the rules that the referee would impose, and the rules of VAR. This is particularly with offsides. We've seen so many cases where you look at a VAR decision, and you look at a referee's decision, like the example we've just had. There is no way a referee would have given that as offside, but VAR would. And so now players can argue all the time. It's if there isn't one coherent rule for both, it seems. And so, again, it's all details. It's ironing out exactly how it's meant to be used. That is where the problem lies.
For me, it makes me feel quite sorry for the actual refs themselves on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because they can't control what the man in the VAR room is saying. He's just got to do what he tells them. And then he's got to deal with all these overpaid prima donnas running at him for every single decision, trying to intimidate him.
And I think that's where
he's got to wait 5 minutes every time he makes a decision. So he looks like he's got no authority now, because he doesn't. Refs don't have any authority nowadays.
And that's where the problem is. We're all looking to the referee as the authority figure to lead the game and to keep control of the game. But how can he do that when he's got a higher power just in his ear telling him what to do?
That makes it sound
that problem was nullified by the fact that he could go and look at it on the screen. We have seen examples of that happen already this season, where they've taken the initiative and they've seen it for themselves and then made a decision. And these decisions obviously there's very fine margins, and they're a lot more respected when they make a call themselves than when they just blindly follow what the person upstairs has said.
There's a video from, I think it's the Australian League, where they hooked up all they all had earpieces in, all the officials on the pitch, and you hear all the audio, so them talking to each other on the pitch about a decision, and then a VAR call comes in, and the referee goes, right, do you want me to look at it so I can sell it to the crowd? He's already sure in his mind he knows what the decision is, but he knows I have to go to the screen because I need the crowd to know this is why I'm doing this. And because you could hear what they were saying, because you could see what they were doing, it really breaks down the decision-making process so much more. If they implemented that into the Premier League or into the top 5 leagues, I think it would make it a bit more interesting to watch, I'd say, in terms of decision-making. We're not blindly following. But as well as that, it just makes it a lot clearer for the players as well.
I think there's got to be a system. So if there's a goal and the ref goes or the linesman goes, I think that's offside, I'm going to flag it. And then you go to the screen to check from 3 different angles. You're not sure, then call up to VAR to have a look from another, get the whole screen out, draw the line, see what's what. Like, there's got to be a hierarchy, a ranking, a system that each ref follows before they make a decision. Because very rarely have we actually seen the refs go to the side of the pitch and look at the screen.
Yeah. They were doing that a lot in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, yeah.
That's what I was saying. The few times that they've always been highly, they've been praised for it. It's been looked at in high regard because they're taking responsibility of the decision.
Well, they had one in the World Cup final, the most important game once every 4 years, the most watched game in the world. And I think there was a shout for a handball. I think Mandzukic handballed it and France were given a penalty. And it went to VAR, but, there was the decision-making. The replays were shown a million times. You knew immediately what VAR was being used for, potentially a handball. The referee went to see it and the referee had the final say. So at the end of the day, even if you're a Croatia fan, you can't really have a fuss about it. You've just got to go, right, fair enough.
Yeah, you can't dispute it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because it's going the other way now as well. Like, do you remember the Villa-Sheffield game where there was obviously there was the goal line technology, but when obviously the ref's watch didn't buzz, so as far as he's concerned, no goal has been scored. But players are coming up to him and going, "Why aren't you checking VAR?" Yeah. And it's such a confused situation.
That still baffles me to this day how they didn't. Yeah. What? Why? How did it not get awarded?
Again, there is no official system in place, so the ref didn't know what to do in that situation.
But at half time,
players saying it's a goal.
At half time, the ref said it was a goal, and his watch went off 20 minutes later.
Imagine being him though. You're sat in the ref's changing room or something, and you're just like, "Oh, it was a good half, boys. Yeah, good call on that offside. Yeah."
The thing is, it's obviously an incorrect decision when the impartial figures, the commentators, the pundits, they're all saying this is a goal that went in. There's no dispute over it whatsoever.
You don't even need pundits.
I was lost for words.
On camera. We all saw it.
Literally lost for words.
It was there.
It's because of the whole, for the past, however long football's been played, as soon as a decision was made that was a bit controversial, the referees would be surrounded by players. Roy Keane used to famously just scream at anything a referee would make just so he would be afraid to make a decision next time. Doesn't matter if it was right or wrong. So to do that now for actual reasons, and the poor refs just going, I don't know. Don't know.
Did no one in the control room not think to go, mate, that was a goal?
Did nobody tell him?
Nothing to do when the players are screaming at him. Oh, God. Crazy times.
I think I saw on Twitter that there was some sort of statement from Hawkeye which said that they didn't have the proper images to confirm that it had gone over the line.
There was a player in the way.
We're not watching.
No, wasn't it something? There was a player in the way of the sensor or something, something like that.
Yeah, but these days they have 360-degree viewpoints. Like in the Bundesliga, they score a goal, you get in the replay, it goes in one angle, it comes to the back of the net, it goes around the other side. How can you not see it? In the VAR, you've got the sort of that famous angle where the line goes across the crossbar, and it's all one continuous line. How are you not going to see that the ball is behind the line?
I can tell you're really not happy about this, are you?
Of course not.
I don't blame you, mate, because you would have won that one.
I mean, goal line system came in about 4 or 5 years ago, because the goal line system started when Lampard scored against Germany, but it wasn't given, and then that's how that whole uproar started. So goal line
and
system,
really since the goal line technology's come in, I don't think there's been that many issues with that massively. Not that I can remember. Like, this is probably one of the few times I can remember goal line technology being the problem.
I mean, in the Champions League and Europa League, you just have some geezer stood by the goal watching the goal line.
Yes.
In about, I think they've been there. They've had the fifth official on the line there for about 5-6 years, maybe. I've never once seen him make a call.
Is he actually doing anything, or is he just getting a better seat in the house? Really, I think that's
literally he could watch, like, I don't know, Lukaku get absolutely nailed by Sergio Ramos in the box. Ref would look at him like, "What then?" And he'd just be like, "Didn't go over the line."
That's what I'm here for, mate. I don't care about the rest of it.
I mean,
yeah, like, again, like, it's not the technology. It's the human error that's causing the issues. Like, do you remember what competition was it in where it was France, Ireland, and the famous Henri?
That was the 2010 World Cup qualifiers when Henri handballed it to keep it in.
It was very subtle, but it was painfully obvious.
And then he had the absolute nerve to go, I didn't cheat. It was fine.
But like, when you think back to those and the Lampard goal and the '66 World Cup, if we had had a system where you could confirm certain things, there wouldn't be room for error. There would be no doubt. No one could dispute it. And so it's not the technology; it's just human error.
Yeah, and it's annoying because other sports do it better. Rugby has a better system in place. Cricket, tennis, even American football, they have like a challenge system in place, and that works better. So,
that was my next question. Do you think the captain should be able to have each team gets 3 VAR reviews, and the captain should be able to call when to use it?
I'm a big supporter of that. Like, even if it's like a team gets 1 opportunity per half, and once you've used it, it's gone. Tough luck. Like, it would just simplify. It would keep the flow of the game better instead of checking every single decision.
Yeah,
I would check. It's just start, stop, and also it puts the responsibility on the teams as well, not to dispute silly little things. Just it's down to them. I'm a big supporter of that idea.
I think no matter what system does get put into place, there's always going to be complaints about it. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it desperately needs to be better than what it is. It's a good idea, bad implication. Like, they're not executed well.
Yeah.
It's going to take years. I think you know how they'd be like, you got to give a manager time. We've got to give VAR maybe, because when they've had this first season with it, obviously next season, hopefully they'll change something, and then that'll be put in place, and then it'll be a constant pattern of changing something, trying it. If it's not working, trying something again. But they only challenge goals like fouls, offsides, and that's about it. They don't. If it happens at the halfway line, they don't check it.
Yeah, unless it's like a red card incident or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they won't check it otherwise. And sometimes that's been good because there have been. I think it was in France. This happened. There was something that just got given as a coming together of a yellow card, and they looked at it again on VAR, and you saw that one of the players had just elbowed the other lad in the face completely. Yeah. So in those instances, it does turn out very well, but they need to find out what warrants it.
Yeah.
All the time. I'd say.
I mean, the only instance I remember is Aubameyang against Watford, I think, and it was on the halfway line, right near the coaches, and everyone was. I think it was just was happy to play on, apart from the Watford manager that was like, barking on about that was studs up, and then the ref paused the play and had a look at it, and it was a red card, rightly shown. And that's when it is used correctly. But like I say, there's 1 in 10 chances, is it, that it's used correctly, more so than none that it's going to be controversial. And especially if it goes against the team you're supporting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think one of the things that causes the most dispute is the tagline of clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
So like at the moment we've got these really, really fine margins. Like, for example, John Lundstrom's toenails that can cause a player to be offside, and that's bordering along being like ludicrous or worth challenging for pundits and people like that. So we have to, but at the end of the day, you look at that and it is a fact. It is offside. It's just a lot closer than what we're used to, because obviously no human is going to be able to pinpoint that in real time.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's by accident, and you go, "Oh, right, that was a good call," but it's not meant it.
Yeah. So that's probably another thing to discuss, really. How it is the clear and obvious error, should that be carried forward? Mm-hmm. Because obviously that's what's causing a lot of the controversy.
Obvious, yeah. What makes something clear and obvious? What is that definition?
Yeah,
that's a whole nother argument again.
Again, we're coming to this spectrum of human error and how much we can can forgive for it. That's what's causing the confusion. So I think if we go back to just having, the rule book is as such. That's how it is. And if it hits your hand, it's handball. If you're offside by a toenail, you're offside. That's something that we're either going to have to adapt to or scrap it, go back to the sort of prototype that was on the World Cup, and then that will hopefully offer some sort of consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, today, for example, there's an instance where there could have been a possible penalty given against Paul Pogba. And it was a penalty, clearly coming from the back side. But because Paul Pogba was offside, it wasn't given. Where's the line between what you're deciding and what you're going like? Are you deciding you're calling VAR because you think he's offside, or are you calling VAR because it's a penalty?
I think the first thing that comes into my head is you do it for the decision there and then.
Yeah.
Like the decision that, so in that instance, it should be a decision on a penalty or not. Because if no one's seen the offside, the game has moved on from then. It was like, I remember I can't remember who Arsenal were playing, but effectively there was an incident in our box where an opponent was apparently fouled. Arsenal went up to the other end, scored, and then VAR checked the foul decision. And if that, luckily it wasn't reversed, but if it had been, it would mean Arsenal's goal is disallowed.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got to deal with the decision that you are checking there and then. You can't say, "Oh, hang on a minute," but 30 seconds before that there was another incident, because the game has moved on.
And that's where the ref should have the authority then and there. VAR should go, right, there's been an off the ball incident on the other side of the pitch, or do you want to let the play continue, or do you want to stop it? I think that's where it should be. They should say, you should go, right, what's happened? So and so's punched so and so in the face. Yeah, we should probably stop it, boys.
Lee Bowyer and Eric Dyer are fighting again.
Wasn't there an issue in the playoffs last season with Leeds and West Brom or something?
Probably. It's Leeds.
There's
always an incident with Leeds.
Or Leeds Villa. I'm pretty sure there's an incident where...
Are you talking about when they should have played kicked out and sportsmanship and all that?
Yeah, I think it was Leeds Villa, and it all kicked off 2 or 3 times, and at least 2 people got red card. I think I know which game you mean, and it was an absolute shambles of a match.
There was a foul, Villa scored.
It was Derby, wasn't it? It was Frank Lampard.
No, that was the Spygate. I know which one you mean. It was there was a foul off the ball, but Leeds sort of went to go and play it out because it was like, oh, he's injured.
And they changed it, and then they just kept going instead. Yeah. All the Villa players are standing around like, what? They score, referee allows it, and then and then eventually the manager said give them a goal, didn't he? Like, and they just allowed it.
It's very weird, very weird.
But it's all just, I think there's got to be some form of dictatorship from someone going, this is the rule, this is what we're deciding, this is how we're going to do next season, the following on seasons. And like you say, like you made a good point earlier, Aidan, that it is affecting you. If you take 3, 4, 5 minutes to make a decision, it's affecting the atmosphere, it's affecting the celebration. Like you said, when Suchek scored, he couldn't celebrate properly because he was just like, is this allowed? Can I score? Like what is this?
Well, imagine, remember last season, the Liverpool-Barca game, the comeback, the 4-0?
Yeah.
Imagine if there'd been certain decisions that had made that game be stopped and started. Liverpool wouldn't have come back and they wouldn't have won 4-0.
Yeah.
Because the game would have stopped and started. They wouldn't have had their momentum and they wouldn't have been able to capitalise. But then vice versa, Barcelona could have had certain momentum which could have been derailed. So it can affect the team's momentum during a game. I think you could be dominating the game, but all of a sudden you had to take a 5-minute break for some reason. That could go again. So it doesn't ruin it, but it certainly lessens the overall just football atmosphere, I think.
Yeah. I mean, since the return of the Prem, the whole atmosphere has been off anyway. Like, with no crowds, with hearing just even the players communicate with the managers or with each other. And like everything's just been off just a tad since the restart.
I mean, it's understandable because there's not allowed crowd, so that is fair enough. But you can see it as well, particularly in the first couple of games that were played after the break was over. We all restarted. The first halves were just boring, like really, like usually very poor quality. And I think that's just the players themselves having to get used to the fact of, all right, I'm playing in this 40,000 seat stadium. There's nobody here. Yeah. And it's just, I think it's getting used to that. But then the second half would pick up again. And I think that's kind of noticed. I think it was Gary Lineker that was talking about it. And he said, the first halves tend to seem very like dead. And then pick up.
I remember, like, I don't know how it made you feel. I remember when the Bundesliga started back up. And I remember watching the Dortmund game, the very first game back. And I just remember sitting there thinking, this feels really weird. I just feel a bit uncomfortable just watching a completely silent game.
Bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? We were waiting so long for football and then we finally got it back and we're a bit like...
Well, no, it was just like, you could, even when you sat on your sofa, you can feel a little bit of the atmosphere coming through.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, it's just like, you just hear the odd, It's just like, this is really weird.
Or you'll have Erling Haaland start celebrating to a completely empty stadium.
Yeah, to an empty stadium.
Like, get in! Like, his teammates are just looking at him like, should we tell him? I don't think he knows.
It's just weird. And when a decision is being made 5 minutes to make, it just seems so much longer. And that's why I could only watch an hour of the Bundesliga before I turned it off, because I was just so bored of stop, start. And it's, like you say, the momentum of a game is just being killed because of how long a decision can take to make.
On the topic of momentum, what does everyone think of the new water breaks? Because I hate them.
They are annoying.
It's literally like having a game of 4 quarters now.
Oh, yeah. They are annoying, and I don't think they're very fair. Because, like you say, it's essentially having a timeout in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
It gives the manager a chance to say, right, this isn't working, we need to change that. That's what half-time's for.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get an extra 5 minutes. I get why they're doing it, because we've never played the season this time of the year before. Players aren't used to it, but it's not that hot.
Yeah,
it's a bit warm, but
you're a professional athlete.
Yeah,
you are meant to be one of the fittest people on earth. You do not.
They'd normally be training now anyway. Like,
you do not need a water break in flipping Stoke.
So I can understand it when it's 30+ degrees, like it was a couple of weeks ago in Old Trafford. I imagine it's molten hot. But when it's tipping it down on a rainy night in London, you do not need a water break after 20 minutes. Like you said, you're a professional athlete. There is a reason why we created this game at 2 halves of 45 minutes. It's like that every day in South America.
And I don't really like the extra substitutions. It's like, right, we'll just bring on an entire new team now. Come on.
Yeah, I think the record's been broken like twice already for the most amount of subs used in the game.
Ollie Solskjaer made
building a different team.
That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
I mean, it's like when it's 5 degrees down in Brighton, but you see Bruno Fernandes drinking ice cold milk as soon as he gets subbed off the pitch.
He's not used to it. He doesn't understand it.
Yeah, he's not used to it. It's not like that in Portugal.
Yeah, it's too cold over there.
I understand. So originally I saw something on Twitter and it was from BBC? It was from an official page, and they were like, let's not forget that the drinks break isn't for the players. It's so we can sanitize the balls, the goalkeepers can change their gloves, and the players can sanitize their hands, and then it just seems to be that they take a drink at the same time.
They need to sanitize the ball, right? Is it like because players come into contact with throw-ins, right? I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, because they have to have a thing behind the goal now. There's 2 that just sit there for the whole game, pretty much. All players that are constantly someone will throw that one into play and they'll bring another one out, wipe it down, put that one there again.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah, because that's the safest thing to do while still playing the game. But then call them that. Don't call them, because they're essentially quarter-time team talks now.
Yeah.
I've seen very little glove changing.
Yeah, I think the first few matches you saw them and they'd sort of come to the side, have a drink, and then get on with it. But now it's like an extra time team talk where managers on the pitch, everyone's sat around, and I saw Frank Lampard giving it the old curly finger and stuff, telling people what to do. I was like,
and when it comes to gloves, who is coming in contact with them other than the keeper?
I mean,
very good point.
Yeah,
he's come in contact with the ball. He does come in contact with the ball.
Yeah, but he's got a cough on the ball.
He's got the gloves on.
Yeah, but if you cough,
and sweat,
you cough, take a throw in, go straight to the keeper. They pick it up, kick it out. There's a bit of sweat.
Licking their hands,
from them.
You're not used to lick your gloves.
Is that not what they do?
But plus also, keepers obviously spit on the gloves, don't they? They touch the ball.
True, yeah.
So there's
nice.
There's like half and half, and I see why it's done. But like you say, if that's the case, just bring the keepers off and all the balls, change gloves, wipe the balls, and keep all the players stood where they are.
If you want, bring somebody on with a bottle of water or bottles of water. That's fine, but the manager shouldn't be allowed to talk to them. I don't think.
Yeah.
Have a water boy. Adam Sandler can do it. I've seen it.
But I don't know. I think it's more than just the crowd missing since the restart. And also the quality of football since we've been back. The first week was atrocious.
Yeah.
You could tell everyone was unfit. You could tell there was a definite drop in fit.
Well, it's all the added weight with the hair because it's really slowed them down.
Yeah, it was very, very surprising to see the difference in how teams were performing, particularly Sheffield United, who were dreadful for the first 2 weeks until we played Arsenal.
Up a bit now, but
we were it was like back in League One.
I mean, when you played us, I mean, that's a game I was certain we weren't going to win. Could have aimed for a draw, but I was certain we weren't winning it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this is not the Sheffield United that we've been seeing all season. This is a different team now. And we won.
I really want to know what. I want to know what Man United have been doing, because they came flying out the blocks and they were absolutely fine.
We went to Spain for 2 weeks. We trained at Bruno Fernandes's house or wherever it was. We all went and quarantined.
Trained at my house, boys.
That's the message she satisfied.
I mean, some of the United players haven't hit it on the head. David De Gea certainly hasn't.
I think he was on a decline anyway, to be honest. So
yeah,
he's not really pulled the bag out at all this season. So I think it's just the fact that he's just poor still. It's not good for him.
He'll make 1 or 2 good saves a game, but he'll make 2 mistakes.
1 or 2, yeah.
And it's just, other teams have different tactics, and I know some teams weren't allowed to training, and some players refused to go to training. Like, I know Kante was like, I'm not coming anywhere near training until I know that this is. And then obviously this mass testing started happening, 6, 7 players. I think there was like 6 or 7 clubs in the end. Watford, Brighton, Bournemouth, Leicester. All of them had players that had contracted, and therefore it was affecting everyone around them, and players were refused to return to training.
So
that is the point. Not to diminish anyone's decision on wanting to return to training, because I saw reports of that and I was like, fair play.
Yeah.
They're looking out for their safety and their family's safety as well. So, fair.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, like, before it all happened, obviously Arsenal played Olympiacos, and it turned out every man and his owner was infected.
Yeah.
But they still came together.
Yeah, and that was, I think the FA didn't really clock on to how serious it was fast enough, because I remember there were talks that football would be returning in April and things like that when it locked down, and they certainly. I remember at the time, everything was starting to be closed down, but football was still going, and there was a lot of people calling on the FA say you've got to make a decision, and they left it, and all of a sudden, Mikel Arteta fell victim to it. Do you remember that? And then all of a sudden it was like the entire league's gone.
It was because I think a lot, certainly the big 5 leagues, I don't think anybody wanted to be the first league to out and out say, right, we're stopping it. But then it became a case of other governments saying, right, regardless of football, you've got to do it now. Yeah. And then obviously our government were a little bit slower on the draw on that one, and I think that had a bit of a knock-on effect. But yeah, the FA should have jumped in a bit sooner, I think.
I think obviously Italy started, like you're saying, countries didn't want to be the first to stop everything. It was very much a matter of, we will keep going until it is literally a matter of life and death. And this is football we're talking about here. We could take this on a basis and get away from this, but this is football. Something that, fair enough, we went without it for 3 months. And, at first everyone was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then later on, and it's like, boys, we've been without football for 3 months here. And it's actually returning, and then it returns. And
we complain about it.
Yeah. But I think we are slowly, obviously I know for things like Europe, like Europa League, Champions League, their new system is going to be like the World Cup. It's going to be a month of one-legged games, no second leg. That is it, knockout, which is fair enough. And I know that people do want to be getting on with the season to end it, to go on this break, to get to the transfer window. And hurry it up to minimise less risk. But then it could be too late.
It could be. I think everyone obviously wants this all to hurry everything along as quickly as they possibly can, so there isn't that much of a break between whenever this season's going to end and whenever the next season is going to start. Because that's still, I think, that's still a little bit up in the air. So yeah, I think I kind of like what they're doing with the European tournaments, with the Champions League and the Europa League, having sort of a World Cup style tournament. I think it certainly fills that gap that we would have between the Premier League finishing and starting up again with something. So that's kind of exciting for us as fans. I think it certainly makes the competitions a lot more unpredictable, because particularly in the Europa League, you could get the odd shock result, like Olympiacos beating Arsenal or something. And without a second leg, that's it now. So you could get, I don't know, we could have Ajax in the Champions League final. We can't, but somebody, I don't know who's left in the Champions League actually, but
I'll have a look.
Because it's much harder for shock results to happen over 2 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Teams adapt, and so there'll be definitely a lot more tension in the games. There'll be definitely a lot more excitement, thinking this game is obviously more important than a regular semi-final or a regular quarter-final.
And there won't be other tournaments now, because that'll be it. There won't be the Premier League or the FA Cup or the League Cup alongside that. It'll just be the teams in the Champions League or the teams in the Europa League. That's it. So it'll help with, not necessarily fitness, but no, it will. It will help with fitness, and it will help with footballing schedules and stuff like that. So players and managers can't have the excuse of, we didn't have our team out because of this game on Saturday. So there's no excuse. There's not as many excuses now, I think, which is better, because it means it's just about the football.
I mean, I don't see why we didn't just play the games in hand and then call it there. I think it was Villa, Sheffield United, and Man City, Arsenal that had just the games in hand left. And then just call it there. I'm not sure why it took so long, or we didn't just...
I think
that's because Sheffield United are coming back now, and you're scared, aren't you?
You don't want it.
If you asked me that 2 weeks ago, I'd have been like, yeah, might as well, because it's dismal. But now things are looking up, and I think you're bottling it, Ethan.
We're bottling it.
No, Man United are doing well. It's Toby that's bottling it.
No, we had a rough start, but we're doing quite well. No, there are so many possibilities, that there are so many ways that top 6 could turn out. It's too early to call.
I mean, put it this way: Newcastle are 13th. We still mathematically have a shot at top 6.
Yeah, it's meant, like, the teams that have a chance at top 6, right? Newcastle are on 42 points, right? And Wolves are on 52. So it's so close. It's potentially top 6 teams could be Newcastle, Everton, Burnley, Tottenham, Arsenal, Sheffield, and Wolves.
Oh, can we have Newcastle, Burnley, and Everton? Like, just throw them. We'll take Europa League on, boys. Don't worry. Leave it to us.
But they're potentially all in with a shout.
I mean, luckily, Man United's next 3 games are against Villa, West Ham, and they're all down in the relegation zone. But like Sheffield United are now 9 points off. So you're 8th and we're 4th.
I can't see Madrid coming to the Bernabeu anytime soon, Kurt. Sorry, mate.
Maybe not this year, but
you never know. Tony Cruz pacing it down Bramall Lane, never know.
Well,
John Egan just cleaning them out.
There's things still working in your favour, because City might not get Champions League. And if United win the Europa League, there's another spot opening up.
Yeah, I mean, I think City will end up getting their ban overturned, because that always happens happens, they've got enough money to chuck at this whole palaver to get the result that they want, and it's gonna happen. I can see it definitely getting overturned because they found some sort of illicit loophole, or they've paid the right person the right amount to get them to do this or whatever.
Just think how big their legal team will be working on this, trawling through every single document, everything, just
to find that one loophole that says, no, we were allowed to do this. And they'll find it because they've got the money to find it.
Yeah. They'll be working around the clock.
Because, I mean, they're not the only ones. PSG have come under so much scrutiny for the past, 10 years?
Yeah.
And nothing's been done. They've been fined, they've been warned with it, but it's never happened. Because, again, they can avoid it.
Chelsea's transfer ban lasted long, didn't it?
Yeah, lasted like 2 months, that. We're in.
But since the return of the Prem, Kurt, why have Sheffield United been like they are? What do you think is... I'm going to say, what do you think has happened? And obviously there's a big elephant in the room, but surely something else has got to have gone on there.
I don't know. I was having a word with Chris Wilder the other day, and I don't know. I'm at a loss, honestly. Either Jack O'Connell literally carries the team, or I think we just didn't. It seems like we didn't start training early enough. I think we were definitely affected by that because it's not the case of our tactics were wrong. It's that we just weren't fit. We just could not keep up. Man, you were in rings round us. Players were doing wonky passes. I don't know what it was. It was honestly like they spent 8 months off instead of 8 weeks.
Could it potentially be that? So every season there tends to be one team that manages to throw up something, and it's usually because of their tactics that aren't being done by anybody else. Could it maybe be because of this gap that we've all had, that other teams have sort of utilised that time to sort of go, right, let's look at Sheffield United, what are they doing? Right, let's look at Man United, what have they been doing? Let's look at these teams. And maybe it could be the case that certain tactics that have worked have maybe been figured out because other managers have had the chance to look at it a bit more because they've had the time to. And that's not just with Sheffield United. There's other teams as well that will have the same problem.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but then we came back. We were very strong against Arsenal. Arguably could have won that on a different day.
Should have won that, I'd say.
Yeah, should have won that. But then at Tottenham, we ran rings around them, and it doesn't seem like we've changed the system as such. Granted, Tottenham were not very good on the day. They're defending for the second and third goal. I think they just lacked concentration. So maybe it is the case that Man U and Newcastle focused heavily on our tactics, which, if anything, is quite a compliment, really.
Cheers. Yeah.
But I'd like to think that we're going to go from strength to strength now, and we're back on the wagon. I think we definitely fell off, and we're running behind to catch up. And I think they've done well to do so in a matter of 3 or 4 games. I think that's definitely a testament to how hard the team works and have worked this whole season. And hopefully we can finish off quite strong.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have been phenomenally impressive considering at the start of the season, I think everybody would agree Sheffield United were probably the favourites to go down. And now they're strongly in contention for a European spot. That is a fantastic achievement.
Someone dug up an old clip on Twitter from Garth Crooks, and he says that I think Sheffield United are going to struggle this season. I think the style of football they play is too basic. Sorry, Garth.
You love it when you see those. They're brilliant.
I mean, it all comes down to show that, again, Sheffield United came into this league with nothing to lose. They knew how to play football. They knew what worked to get them promoted. You might as well stick with it. Like, why fix it if it isn't broken?
And if it's working in the Championship, because 5 or 6, like the Championship is such a different league than it was 7 or 8 years ago. Obviously, Newcastle were in it a few seasons ago, and we won it. Kurt, you guys got promoted last season. It's so much more competitive, and it's so much more. There's a lot more money in it now than there ever has been. I think if you're getting promoted, at least automatically from the Championship, you are going to be in with a decent shout of staying up. Most in the past 5 or 6 seasons, it's rare that one of the promoted sides will go straight back down. It usually takes a season or two nowadays.
Brighton, for example, the second they went up, they were deemed to come back down, and they've survived.
They're still good. Bournemouth, I mean, they've been in it for 4 seasons now.
Yeah.
I mean, they are 19th at the moment, Bournemouth.
Yeah, they're struggling now, but
not for much longer.
We'll ignore now.
I mean, if Leeds came up to the Prem, I wouldn't fancy a trip to Ellen Road.
No, not at all. Because as well, the amount of money you get from being promoted, as well as the amount of money you lose from being relegated, it really does affect the club. Like, I've known people that will work in kiosks and stuff at St James's Park, and when we've got relegated, those are the first people to go. It can seriously damage a lot of things, not just the players. And then when you get promoted, it affects it as well. So it's good and bad.
I mean, what I noticed, or what I think about the Sheffield United system, is that it relies heavily on individuals, in the sense that your wing backs before the break were very attacking and very, getting balls in, applying pressure, a lot of team press. But now you take them away, and like against Newcastle, obviously it was because Egan got sent off, but you go to a 4 at the back, or you try something like Sanderberger hasn't really done a lot. He had a good game against Spurs to an extent, but it wasn't what everybody is expecting of a £30 million signing, or however much it was. And then you've got 4 or 5 strikers that are expected to put in maybe 5 goals a season each.
I think Musa's on 6, and I feel like he's our top scorer. So, but I mean, you have got, just on that note, you have goal contributions coming from a lot of the players. Probably 9 out of the starting 11 have scored at least once this season. Yeah. I thought one thing that definitely stuck out to me on was it Wednesday when we played Spurs? In the game against Spurs, Ben Osborne, he was a fantastic player, and he came in for Fleck, who hadn't turned up for the past. He hadn't turned up at all when he played. I think Sanderberger, he's still got a long way to come. Obviously, you want to pay massive figure.
Arsenal just scored, guys.
Come on. So sorry.
You're going to pay 30 million for a player who wants to turn up straight away and hit the ground running, but that's not always the case. Sanderberger.
No, it isn't. Especially when you pay 40 million for him.
But I think I still have faith that he will become quite prolific in the first 11, but he's not there right now.
Jeez.
Well, did you guys sign Sanderberg? Was it January or was it start of the season? Well, then that's fine. Like, that's because January, February, bit of March break, bit of June. That's 3 months. You can't expect some, like, Thierry Henry took about a good couple of months to start knocking him in.
Yeah. And Sanderberger is the new Thierry Henry.
Yes, he is. I was going to say.
I'm just going to throw one. Bruno Fernandes has been here since January, and he's on.
But you paid like 70 million for him.
And he's in the prime of his career.
Sanderberg.
Oh, VAR check.
Oh, God.
That was brilliant, like 20, 30 minutes ago.
I'm just watching it now because I got it on my phone. A decent fucking strike, to be fair. The volley from Saka.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Now, that's a player that could be great. That is a name to remember.
We'll get on to that in a minute because he is, like you say, a name to remember, young, English, prime. What are we on now? This is...
So, looking at Sander Berge's career, he came from Genk, and he's 23, whereas Bruno Fernandes came from Sporting Lisbon, and he's been in the Liga NOS for probably about 8 years. I don't think there's much in the way of comparison.
I think Bruno's 25, 26. No, yeah, there is a lot of difference between the two. Like you say, even the money from the get-go, how much you're paying for a player. But again, we paid 60 million for him, and he has changed our season massively.
Yeah, I will agree. It's had a great effect on your team, but yeah, you can't compare. And even the figures that we're paying, I think 60 million for Bruno could be regarded quite cheap. The amount of money that gets thrown around these days is astronomical, and I think it's still not quite settled how much clubs pay for players, even if they're not even going to start. Because we were, chucking around like 15, 20 million, just breaking our transfer record every week for players that have started most games on the bench.
I mean, look at if we get Sancho for 50 million.
If you pull that off, that's insane. That's deal of the decade.
Well, hopefully, as long as he doesn't absolutely tank in the Prem.
You'd hope not, but he's already, he can already knock a couple in for England. So you've got to think he'll do well in Prem. And he was in the Bundesliga, which is probably the closest thing to the Prem in the top 5, I'd say.
Arsenal also may have an opportunity to get Aubameyang to sign a new contract.
He wants 250,000 though, doesn't he?
250. Mesut Ozil is on 300,000.
Yeah, okay. Aubameyang's worth that then. If you're paying Ozil 300k,
100%. Yeah, we're like.
I probably play as much as Mesut Ozil. Where's my 300k?
No, get rid of Ozil. Use his wages for Aubameyang.
Isn't Aubameyang 31 though?
He is, but he's a goal machine. Like it doesn't look like
he's already got. Is it 50 goals in the Prem in like 2 seasons?
Fastest Arsenal player to 50 goals. Like he's just unbelievable.
Good start.
Without him, seriously, Arsenal are in deep trouble.
Without him, you're a top 10 club. I'd say. Oh, yeah. Like with just the way you've been playing, you have the players to not be. But
yeah, well, put it this way: everyone's had a terrible season this season, other than Liverpool. Everyone's had a pretty bad season.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kurt would probably disagree with you on that.
But if it wasn't for Aubameyang, Arsenal would be in so much trouble. Like he's worth that 250 grand.
That's
somebody that I'm very worried about, who's been on phenomenal form since we've come back from the break. Big Alan Saint-Maximin. I love the man, but he's so much better than the entire rest of the Newcastle squad. I saw him against Bournemouth, and he ran circles around 3 of them. You got 3 assists in a game.
Yeah.
If we managed to hold on to him, I'd be amazed. I'd love it, but because we're Newcastle.
I mean, depends if you'll survive, but like West Ham, I feel like if they get relegated, they're going to lose their whole starting 11.
Then Bournemouth, they're going to get gutted because I can see Bournemouth going down. They're not playing well.
Again, Villa brought in a whole new squad, 4 of them being goalkeepers,
which is always clever.
But we've got 3 things like left to talk about. So we've got we'll decide. So we've got the next team to win the Prem, who's never won it before.
Mm-hmm. That'll be interesting. Yeah.
We've got the England squad to talk about, and then we've obviously got the centre backs to choose for our Premier League XI.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, considering we've already mentioned Sancho, Toby mentioned about Saka being a name to remember, let's talk about the England squad and obviously the upcoming Euros 2020, and then the possible 2022 World Cup, which is the next. Could be Southgate's last tournament. What's the opinions on the England squad that we've got, and maybe things that we need to change or do to improve to make sure we do get to the final, or we do?
At the minute, I'd say the England squad's in the best shape that it's been since the mid 2000s. Like the team that should have won it but never did. We've got the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, fantastic. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, brilliant. Dean Henderson, in a few years' time, could be pushing for that number one. Pickford's not bad. I mean, he's only got little arms, bless him, but he tries. There are some really genuinely world-class players in our setup, I think.
Yeah.
That in 2 or 3 years could really become maybe a major tournament winning team finally.
We've also got a lot of young talent.
Yeah,
loads sitting there. Like the two names you mentioned, there's also Mason Mount at Chelsea's been making that. There is a lot of potential. So if we can get them playing and get them experience before 2022, combine that with the team we've already got, the future's pretty bright.
I mean, Man United, Mason Greenwood. 14 goals this season already in all competitions. That's mental. That's better than Rashford, and now. And at the time, he was held the next big thing. So he could be somebody really impressive, I think, in a few years' time.
Do you think Trent should be going higher up the field? Do you think he's at his best at a right back?
I'd say yeah. Just the amount of assists he's getting in that position is insane. I think if he works with somebody as a more attacking winger, then rather than a midfielder, if you get what I mean, I think then that works in his favour. But if, let's say, he's down at right back and we've got James Milner out on the wing, he did used to play in the wing once upon a time. That I don't think he'd work then. He's got to work with somebody that matches his pace.
I think we've got to put him. I think we've got to put him centre mid.
I think he could be a very good centre mid.
I think he'd have to be an attacking mid though. He doesn't really strike me as being. There's always been questions about his defensive capability a lot this season. I feel like he would not be able to sort of control or body the midfield as well as a slightly bigger, more physical player like Eric Dyer or Jordan Henderson. So I feel like if he goes in the middle, he has to commit to being that creative role. Otherwise, he's going to constantly be stuck where he's not being used properly. Defensively, he either needs to commit to one or the other.
If he advances like his creative game, I think you could be seeing like a Scholes or a Pirlo. There's somebody so like just brilliant with the ball at their feet can just pick out a player with like they could have 5 players around him, they could still weave the ball to somebody. If he works on his passing game a bit more, then yeah, I think he could be somebody like that. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's not Eric Dyer. He's not Roy Keane. He's not that. But I think he could be a lot more creative. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is because of bias, but I just think eventually Wan-Bissaka is going to be too good to be left out.
Yeah.
Defensively, he is better than Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, attacking-wise, Alexander-Arnold is a lot better, assists-wise. But I just think, like I said, I think I agree with Kurt. I think he's got to be maybe not even a right winger, but an attacking midfielder, or I don't know. I think there's just got to be a change. I don't know if he can play left back. I doubt it. But
you've got to build a team from the back, haven't you, to be strong? And so it would be silly to leave him out because unless you try, you'll never know. And so I think Southgate's he should really consider it.
Yeah.
Especially before 2022, getting in the friendlies, just experiment, just throw things in, try things out. you never know what you might find.
And we've got the depth to certainly experiment with it. Like up front, we've got obviously Harry Kane leading the line, but then there's other players like Callum Wilson, Tammy Abraham, Danny Ings. Danny Ings has been in fantastic form this season. He's got to be in with a shout. Mason Greenwood. So there's a lot of, and that's the same in every position. I'd say there's about 2 or 3 players that you could put in any England starting 11 and think, okay, yeah, I could see them starting.
Yeah.
Some more so than others, but
I feel like we still might have a few gaps at the back, considering Jordan Pickford. I'm still not set or confident in him being secure at the back. I think I mentioned the analogy a couple of weeks ago, where if you're defending and the opposing team is running at your team, and you're thinking, "Oh God, we're going to concede it. It's all over," then that obviously proves that you don't have the faith in your team to defend well enough. Whereas there are times like this season, for example, for Sheffield United, we've had oppositions coming at us, and I've just thought, yeah, we can deal with this all day long. But I think with Jordan Pickford in the net, I never really get that feeling of security and certainty. And I think Dean Henderson still has a long way to go. He's had a bit of a dip in form recently. He's not been performing as well. But I think if he can bounce back from that, he'll prove that he's the right person to be England's number 1 next tournament.
Yeah.
I think as for centre backs, really, John Stones he's not made that many appearances this season.
I think I could see
City been a bit shaky.
His talks going back to Everton.
I could see John Stones leaving City, to be honest, because you're right, Kurt. He's not been performing well enough for that calibre, and not really well enough to get in the England setup, I'd say.
It'll be Maguire alongside either, I think, the 3 contenders: Joe Gomez, Fikayo Tomori from Chelsea, which this is his first season in the Prem, but he's Chelsea's starting centre back alongside either Zuma, Christensen. He does start for Chelsea, but then he's still 21, 22 maybe. And then obviously Tyrone Mings is the other shot, but
I would say Tyrone Mings is, because at first when you said Fikayo Tomori, I thought, but then you said Tyrone Mings, I'd put Tomori above Mings, just because, well, if you're getting relegated, you're not doing your job right.
Yeah.
To be honest. He's been one of the better players for Villa this season, Tyrone Mings, but he's not been fantastic. I'd say, there's players. Who's Burnley's centre backs? Tarkowski and
Tarkowski,
and they're English, so and Burnley aren't doing too bad this season. They could be a potential shout.
I'm just having a look now. Who was our last?
Last 2 to start for England was against Kosovo. It was Maguire and Mings.
Who else? Michael Keane for Everton. He gets in the England setup a bit.
Yeah, on the bench it is John Stones, Tomori, and that was it.
Definitely a bit more. I'd be more comfortable with a few more names in there, having to simply rely on those 2.
And notice that those are all Premier League. Now I know that obviously in terms of foreign leagues, there's not a lot of English talent, but there is the Championship, which, you're not going to get an England first team starter in there, but you could find the odd up and coming lad who could get into the under-21 team that maybe could be worth giving a shout. I think there's somebody. I think it was Tomori, and he was on loan at Derby a couple of seasons ago, and he was absolutely brilliant. And that, now he's doing really well at Chelsea. But I think, if maybe with certain positions that aren't as strong, like centre backs, maybe looking at other leagues could certainly expand on that.
And even as just an optional extra, it's the pressure off you as a manager. You're like, right, I've got a bigger pool to work with. I've got more names I can potentially put in. It just takes the pressure off. Oh, blimey, who do I choose out of these two?
And I'm not saying take that level of player to Qatar or to the Euros, but certainly if you've got a friendly against San Marino,
you
can pop somebody like that in the side.
What have you got to lose? Like, you might as well.
I mean,
and they're not going to be tested because all San Marino do is put 10 men in the box and wait and try and make it like as less to nil as possible.
I mean,
you're not wrong there. San Marino's the wrong example, but
yeah. I'll say our last international friendly was against USA, and we played Lewis Dunk and Michael Keane. It was Michael Keane, Lewis Dunk, Callum Wilson, Jesse Lingard, Fabian Delph. Players that shouldn't really, I don't think, be anywhere near Alex McCarthy. Rooney came on, and he's been, you know what I mean? So there's all sorts of options for us, but I still think and we've said this before, but our weakest position is left back.
Yeah.
We haven't had a solid left back in a long time, and Danny Rose is not going to make it to the Euros.
I mean, he moved to Newcastle because he thought I'll get more first team football, which he has.
Yeah.
In the hope for the England setup, and the only reason that he could potentially get into that England setup is because we're so limited in left backs. Luke Shaw, he's doing a bit better. Is Brandon Williams Welsh or is he English?
Brandon Williams is English.
So, but maybe give him a few more years. But there's not a lot in left backs at all, which is the only reason Danny Rose could be considered.
The only way I know this is because of FIFA. I'm not sure how accurate FIFA is. But Saka, Arsenal's Bukayo Saka is a left wing back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon?
And a good one at that. He's I don't know if he's playing today, but
he scored.
Yeah, from the very first time he broke into Arsenal, it was like, whoa, we've got a seriously good potential player here. And it's the same with Martinelli. We've signed a lot of young talent recently that are making clear headways. Like, oh, hang on a minute, we might have struck gold here. We may have found a real gem.
I mean, it's just playing for England. So many people have made mistakes. You look at, and I know this is the most obvious one, but for example, back in like 2010, when was it Rob Green had a banger of a season in the Prem, but then went in goal for England, made one mistake, and that was it. Yeah. Career over.
Tore his career apart. Paul Robinson, same thing.
Who was it that their first game was against Sweden as a centre back?
Ryan Shawcross.
Ryan Shawcross, banger of season with Stoke, and Zlatan scored a hat trick, and we lost 4-1 or something, whatever it was. One bad game, and that could be your England career done.
Yeah. Not just your England career, that could tank your entire career. Yeah. Because Rob Green was all right. He wasn't the best goalkeeper in the world, but he was good enough to get into a mid-table Premier League team.
Isn't he third choice keeper at Chelsea?
He was for one random season, yeah. So because you're on an international stage as well, the pressure's so much higher. Even if it is a friendly, the eyes on you are greater. I think, having that mistake can just create a lot of damage.
He's still at Chelsea. He played 3 minutes in their pre-season friendly against New England Revolution.
3 minutes.
Wow.
That's an expensive 3 minutes.
Imagine being like a player for the New England Revolution and you're like, oh, get in, we're going to play Chelsea. Who's playing? Rob Green.
He can still say I play for a top Premier League club.
Like he can no one can take that away from him.
Yeah.
He came on the 88th minute for Willy Caballero. But no,
you're having a bad game if you're getting taken off for Rob Green.
They're 3-0 up, so I don't know why they've done it, to be fair. But I think there's definitely some England players that should not be anywhere near the squad. Ross Barkley being one.
I don't know. He's got a few. He bagged a couple against. I mean, obviously against like minnowy teams, but he's bagged a couple.
Ross Barkley. Who else? There's another one that. I mean, how many tournaments has Harry Kane got left?
God.
1, 2.
I'd say 2.
20, he's 27 now.
I'd say at least 2. I'd say he's got about 2 left in him. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jamie Vardy's 33.
I think he's retired internationally.
He's retired internationally, yeah.
Yeah. Kane's only 26, so, next year, obviously, well, he's 27 at the end of this month, so next year he'll be coming up to 28, so then he'll be around. I imagine he'll be around for the World Cup 2022.
Oh,
after that, perhaps, hopefully someone like Mason Greenwood will probably develop themselves enough to knock him off the number 9 shirt.
I mean, currently Kane hasn't been doing a lot for Spurs, but then obviously that boils down to the question of, obviously Paul Merson came out and said it last weekend, that is it Mourinho? Like, Kane isn't going to score under Mourinho. And clearly something's not working at Spurs.
No, definitely not. The fact that who was it they started at the start of the season? And Ndombele?
Ndombele, Bergwijn, and then Lo Celso became
one of those 3 has done all right. And the fact that Ndombele and Lo Celso are 2, arguably you could say, very good players in terms of like their overall stock. PSG were after them. So Real Madrid was after them. So it just can't be the fact that the pair of them have gone from really great up and coming players to now just dived in form. Yeah. There's something at Spurs that's doing it. And whether or not that is Mourinho, I don't know.
But I think Greenwood definitely deserves a chance over Kane, even if it's just for a friendly to give Rashford, Greenwood and Sancho or Sterling, whoever he decides to play, a chance to have a game, because I know, haven't we got an international friendly coming up, or is it the Nations League or something that's in September?
It's the Nations League, I think.
Let me have a look. Good old flash score come in handy once again.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't.
England fixtures. Yeah, so we've got 2 games in September, which is Iceland away and Denmark away.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you give one of them a game. I don't know what, but I definitely think one person to bring into the team is Mason Mount, Mason Greenwood, someone, just one of them at least.
I think Mason Mount's definitely a name for the future.
Has he made 1 appearance for England or 2? I know he scored.
Sure, I've seen him in the England shirt, yeah.
I think he scored. I think it was Bulgaria when we took on the racists. I think he scored for that one. But yeah, he could and should definitely be a part of the setup in the future.
And like, just to compete, I don't know what we're missing, but so that we need something to compete with Belgium, France, Croatia. Because by rankings, aren't we like 4th or 5th?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably based off the last World Cup, though. I think what we don't have that nations like that do is the standout, the star player, the world class. We almost had it with Harry Kane. He was, on fire in 2018. He was doing incredibly well, but since then, I think he's definitely lost that star quality, and we're yet to find it again. Hopefully, it will come soon, but I wouldn't. If you took me to the start of the 2018 campaign and compared that to what we have now, I would say we definitely have had the stronger chance of winning the 2018 World Cup than we do have of achieving anything great in the Euros next year.
Mm. Yeah, and with Harry Kane, I'd like to think he's not past his prime. I'd like to think that he's still got more, because I don't see how you can go from being a Golden Boot winner to being almost like, oh, right, well, we've got Harry Kane in the squad, And so I'd like to think we can still place our faith in him that Harry Kane will be able to deliver the goods on the day. But I think it goes to an even deeper problem when we say we don't have that star player. Is the investment in English talent, I suppose, and that's a thing that the Premier League. I know a lot of pundits have been saying that's something the Premier League needs to improve on. Needs to focus on more homegrown talent.
Yeah,
simply bringing in the next wonder kid from Europe, and so it just is. I think we've definitely got a lot of young talent that could potentially solve that problem with the names we just mentioned, but it's just a more fundamental issue than simply team selection at the end of the day.
I mean, that's what originally, let's take it back to our 2006, maybe 2002 World Cup squad. A lot of it was homegrown from the roots of British football. You look at, that's how Beckham started, Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, all of them came up from youth being part of a quintessential team back at who they played for. Even though Liverpool didn't really dominate the Premier League as such, they had one good season, one bad season, but Gerrard was always that staple. Again, Michael Owen as a young striker when he was at Liverpool was banging in the goals, and he rightfully earned his place as an England striker. But then, like you say, trying to bring in abroad talent, Jadon Sancho, for example, he left Man City part of Man City's youth team. And then he went to Dortmund and lit up the Bundesliga. So I just think, like you say, we've got to hone in more on them players: Mason Greenwood, Mason Mount, Saka, Reece Nelson, Dean Henderson. There's so many players that have come up through and are working hard week in, week out in the Prem to earn their spot on that starting squad. It's just whether Southgate will give them the chances or not.
Only time will tell, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
It will. I think, let's have a look. Yeah, so we mentioned the England squad. The penultimate team, the next team to win the Prem, who's never won the Prem before. So obviously Liverpool was this season because they'd never actually won the Prem. Leicester was in 2016. Who is the next Leicester City, or who is the next?
Okay, if they buy the right players, because they've got a bit of money behind them, and whatever they're doing at the minute is working. Wolves.
I was thinking Wolves.
They've got some genuinely quite decent players. Adama Traore, Raul Jimenez, João Moutinho, very good midfielder, always getting on a bit. If they buy the right players and if they invest in youth again, I genuinely think they could build something quite. I mean, they're a good team now, but they could build something genuinely scary in the future, I think.
They've only had 6 defeats this season. So they've done very, very well. And like you say, if they continue to build, if they keep the momentum going, I don't see why they couldn't be going Leicester. Right, they're definitely a top 6 team at the moment when looking at the current Premier League.
I mean, I think their squad in general But Leicester's squad wasn't that star-studded. That wasn't. They weren't all diamonds.
There were like 2 or 3 players in that Leicester team that were genuinely world class. We just didn't know it yet. Kante, Mahrez, Vardy. But at the time, nobody had really heard of them, and they just came out of nowhere. So if Wolves get the next N'Golo Kante or Riyad Mahrez, that next hidden gem, then who knows?
I mean, I think it says a lot about. I mean, Leicester had the help from Cambiasso, obviously that experienced centre mid that would come on and pull 1 or 2 strings. And I think that's what you said. Like Jan Moutinho is there. Ruben Neves has always been there.
Yeah.
Connor Cody is turning out to be a solid captain. Rui Patricio in net. Like they have potential, and I think it says a lot that, because my first thought was Spurs.
I don't know, like the way they're playing and the way their setup is at the minute, I can't see it.
Certainly not under Mourinho.
Not under Mourinho, no.
No, so that's something would have to change with management.
Yeah. I still think they made a mistake in sacking Pochettino.
Yeah.
Yep. Cheers in the Champions League final, mate.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. Like that was I get they hadn't had the best season. But like I said it a couple of weeks ago, sacking a manager does not get rid of your problems. It was like, especially like you'd expect to bring in someone good. Just no offense to Mourinho, but
Mourinho is a name, isn't he?
Mourinho's a little bit too behind the times now. He's obviously he's proving that he's not willing to try and adapt or be dynamic in the way that he plays, and it's evidently not working well for him. So, but he's not changing.
For me, he's the managerial equivalent of like Ozil.
Yeah,
somebody that had his prime, and in his prime was fantastic.
Yeah,
but that was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Every manager,
sad.
Every manager has a sell-by date. At the end of that, every single manager eventually becomes outdated, and you have to keep changing. And Mourinho is.
I'd say the only one that didn't was Fergie. He
just
called time on it. Even in his last season, he won the league.
I mean, Fergie knew what he was doing. 2013 comes around and goes, hang on, I've got to think here. We're playing Johnny Evans and Phil Jones at the back. I've got to leave.
Well, I think he did say in an interview, he started to realise, like, it's either I leave in the next season or 2, or I stay and I rebuild the squad and stay for another 6 or 7. And the bloke was like 72 at the time. Like, he was getting on. So I could understand him leaving.
I mean, it was only Spurs could finish third in a 2-horse race.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
But no, I think Wolves is a good shout, most definitely. I mean, I can't really see, because Leicester are on the brink of relegation. I mean, if we look at the brink of relegation now, you've got Brighton, Watford, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa, Norwich. I can't see any of them next season turning around and just being a...
The only one down the table that I would like to see...
if you say Newcastle...
It could be a shout. It could be a shout. We could become the richest club in the world.
Yeah, if there's
still a possibility, it probably won't happen, but it could happen.
You've got
it is looking less and less likely each day.
If this deal doesn't go through, no chance. If this deal does go through, big chance. Like that's the thing.
I mean, it's not going to go through. Nothing gets delayed this long and still happens.
You've got 2 very different paths your club could go down.
It's just because they are the most...
It could be the good one. It's the bad path.
It's just so much stuff has come up out of the ground, because all of a sudden these new owners are in 1 minute tax fraud, next minute related to some woman's murder, or some stupid reason is coming out of the blue that's happened 10 years ago but could have affected an impact of...
Well, our potential new owners have openly admitted, yes, we killed someone in our government embassy. So that's a good start, isn't it?
the fans are just like, yeah, but could you just sign? just sign these, like, just.
I really
wait
want
for
to
Steve
say,
Bruce to take a 4-0 battering at St James's, and you just do a massive bang after the match.
I really, oh dear, I really hope that that Newcastle fans would be, morally would stand by like our values and stuff. But nah, if you offered us 50, 100 million blood money and said you'll win the league with this, we'd probably go, yeah, right, cheers, mate.
Just like,
don't want to question
human rights abuses. You could win the league.
I don't want to think about the point deduction that you could face next season if it went through, all the lawsuits that come after.
We'd end up in League Two.
Yeah, 50-point deduction, richest club in the world.
Hey, we'll win some trophies. I'll take that.
I'd like to
very nice
see
trophies.
it.
We'll win the Johnston's Paint Trophy. That'll be ours, like season after season. But whatever it's called now, what's it called?
I don't know. You could hardly beat Oxford.
It's true. It's very true. It's really true.
Yeah.
We did beat him though, but yeah.
And Wickham, what was it? Abraham with his 40-year-old beer belly scoring an equaliser.
Rochdale.
Rochdale, that was it, not Wickham.
Still beat him after the
did?
second leg. Never mind.
I mean, FA Cup wise, Chelsea beat Liverpool. There's always that one upset, isn't there? Or a cup set, as some would say. And we've seen it time and time before. So nothing's taken for granted, even in the lower leagues. Like, I remember last season, was it Lincoln beat Everton and Burnley, both in the FA Cup?
I think they beat Burnley, but they lost to Everton, but they were like at least 1 or 2 goals up at one point.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, they nearly won.
And like, it's just insane that the amount of quality. And like you said earlier, any team on their day, we could see West Ham out of the blue next season all of a sudden become this mass squad with, like, all these Lanzini. They've got world-class players. So, as you guys will see, and just to give these guys some notice, I've put in the chat, over the last couple of weeks or so, we've created a shortlist of some Premier League centre-backs to go in our Ultimate Team XI, our Ultimate Premier League Team XI, and just for you guys to go through. So we've got Adams, Campbell, Ledley King, Jamie Carragher, Jaap Stam, Virgil van Dijk, Vincent Kompany, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, and Nemanja Vidic. Out of these two, we've got to come up with 2 centre-backs to go into our squad.
I'd like to throw Van Dijk forward. I know he's young, and I know he hasn't had the most experience, but in terms of his impact in that Liverpool squad, in terms of his contribution towards the cover, and just how he's continuously improved each season. I know he doesn't have the experience of, say, a Ferdinand or a Terry, or say, like, I know he's not on the list, but say a Sol Campbell.
Campbell is on the list.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, Sol Campbell. But I think he's just been excellent. I do think he's been fantastic.
You're certainly not wrong. I mean, Liverpool were a top 4 team, and then they signed Van Dijk, and it became them and City. He has certainly turned them into. He's the player, not Salah, not Mane. I think Van Dijk is the player that's brought him to that next level. But it is the experience factor for me. There are players that have done more long term. I think if Van Dijk is at Liverpool for the next 5 or 6 years and keeps going the way he's going, and they keep winning the league and they keep winning Champions Leagues, then yes, I might agree with you there. But for me, you can't turn Rio Ferdinand out of this team. You've got to have Ferdinand.
I was going to put Ferdinand forward as well.
I think VVD needs a lot more time until he can prove himself to be, we've got the all-time one here. If this was the right now, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, he would probably definitely be on there. But he needs to definitely prove that he can keep this momentum going. They've definitely shown good signs of it so far. Klopp's come in and he's won the Champions League last season. Now he's won the Premier League. What now? Like you see a lot of teams, this happens to them and they have a spike and then they just plummet.
Well, look,
never predict that.
Klopp at Dortmund. That's exactly what happened to them. They won the league twice, got the Champions League final, and now it's a good season for them now if they finish second behind Bayern. So what Liverpool need to do now is to strengthen and to keep doing what they're doing and to keep winning trophies. And if they do, then I could see Van Dijk in that 11. But for right now, no, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, it's Van Dijk. It's just he's got to keep it going because he could go to Real Madrid. Someone could come in and buy him, and I think like he has been a solid centre back, but I just don't think he's there as a. If he does it over the next 5 seasons, then fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of someone to go in this team, I'm looking at the likes of Vincent Kompany, who did do it for 10 years or so. Or, however long. I'm looking at Sol Campbell, like you said, John Terry.
I mean, I don't want to say Terry, but Terry. I mean,
I think for me, it'd be between Terry for Vidic and Kompany.
Yeah, those are the 3 for me. Vidic, Terry, and Kompany the same. Because for the same reason, I mean, Terry was doing it from the late 90s till about 2015. Vidic was a bit like a Van Dijk, but so much cheaper. You must have signed him for 9-10 million, something like that.
Yeah, it was quite cheap,
and he turned your defence into something completely insane for about 5 or 6 years, I think. Tough one.
I mean, I hate to say Kompany because the whole. But I think 3 or 4 goals. I mean, that final goal against Leicester.
Oh,
I think that's definitely a pivotal moment for him. Like to prove, it was sort of the end of the line really for the campaign, the finest of margins, and you needed one man to step up, and he is the leader, the one who did step up and make the difference. And I think that's definitely a testament to his quality as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's been doing that for years. I remember in the amazing title race where they won it on the last day of the season, in the last kick of the game. It was the game before, a couple of games before that, they played Man United, and I think Kompany got the winning goal.
The header,
which swung it into their favour, and that was in 2012. And then he goes on and scores that amazing goal against Leicester in 2019. So the fact that he's been such a key part of City's build from mid-table to Premier League giants. Because they bought him as a central defensive midfielder for 10 million or something.
You can't think about City's success over the last decade and not mention at the very least Vincent Kompany. Mm-hmm. You can't. He's been too instrumental in just steadying the ship effectively. Obviously it's your strike force that get you the goals, but you've got to have that back line to rely on, and just to ensure that the structure of the team on the pitch is solid.
I mean,
it's a difficult one. This.
I mean, if I had to put it down to a vote to wrap things up, you've got, like you say, Kompany, Vidic, Terry. I mean, I'm going to put my vote for Kompany because I think Vidic was solid and Terry's been solid, but Terry and Ferdinand didn't work together anyway. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I think Vidic and Kompany, and Terry was a good Premier League centre back. Don't get me wrong, but for me, it's between Vidic and Kompany. So
that's fair.
I say I'm going to put my vote for Kompany.
Yeah, I go for Kompany.
Yeah.
I'd say, firstly, because a bit more variety, because I've noticed it's all Chelsea and United at the minute. So throw a City player in. But as well, yeah, because you can't think of Man City and the way that they've been over the past 10, 15 years and not include Vincent Kompany. He's been, like, there's talks of him getting a statue outside of the Etihad, like, and actually serious talks about it. And yeah, you could see it. I'd see it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not looking forward to the centre mids. Centre mids. We'll have to
leave at least half an hour or an hour to that one.
Yeah. We'll wrap things up here because we have been going for an hour and a half. But there we have it. Rio Ferdinand and Vincent Kompany slot in as our 2 centre backs for our Premier League XI. Unless there's anything that you boys like to mention. No.
Nope.
Then we are cool to sign off. I will let Toby go watch the last 15, 20 minutes of Wolves Arsenal.
It's still 1-0 up. We're still 1-0 up. Come on, just keep it there.
And I'll get round to editing and sorting all this out. So I hope you boys enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Hi, you too.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers,
Cheers, and boys. I'll see you all next week for another episode of Super Sunday.
Yeah, then.
See you then.
Bye.